And now, Slang Weekly presenta ¿Hablas náhuatl?
Nahuatl word of the day is nochipa. Nochipa means always. A Nahuatl phrase that uses nochipa is nochipa ipan noyoltzin. Nochipa ipan noyoltzin. It means always in my heart.
That was a lesson in Nahuatl brought to us by our hermano Felix Galvan desde Los Ángeles, Califas. For more from him, including his visual arte, visit his Insta page by searching Felix Galvan Art. You can also visit his webpage at www.felixgalvan.com. That's felixgalvan.com.
And now, Slang Weekly presenta Salud.
Let's make vegan chorizo. This is one of my favorite recipes and it will be yours too. Press extra firm tofu for 30 minutes. We're going to need chile de árbol, chile ancho, chile guajillo. Pour hot boiling water over them and let them rest for 15 minutes. Blend the soaked chiles with garlic, oregano, paprika, cumin, coriander, clove, and apple cider vinegar. Add some of the chile soaking water and blend until smooth. Strain the sauce and set aside. Crumble the tofu with your hands and add half of the chile puree. Mix well and let sit while you cook your mushrooms. Sauté finely chopped mushrooms until golden brown. Add the rest of the chile puree and cook until most of the liquid has evaporated. Add the tofu and cook until it begins to brown. Now you can add it to your tacos, your papas con chorizo, your sopes. Even meat eaters love this recipe.
That was our hermana, Chef Dora Ramirez, writer of the award-winning book Comida Casera, more than 100 vegan recipes, from traditional to modern Mexican dishes. For more from her, visit her webpage, Porfas, at www.dorastable.com. That's www.dorastable.com. You can also find her across social media platforms by searching Dora's Table.
Mama, I broke my arm. Mama, tengo dolor de cabeza. Mama, it's just my student loan. So here's the real truth about Vaporu. When we measure actual airflow, it doesn't open up the airway. What menthol does is it activates the cold receptors in your nose. So it makes your brain think, oh, there's cold air coming in. And that is the science behind Vaporu. It's a real effect, it's just a perception effect. And one real warning from me, because I'm the doctor on your phone right now, do not put it inside your nose or give it to babies under 2 years old because it has camphor, which is toxic if it's swallowed. Everywhere else, ni modo. Knock yourself out.
That was our hermana, la doctora Amanda Perez, MD. You can find more from her by visiting her webpage, www.dramandaperez.com. You can also find more from her by searching the social media handle, Dr. Amanda Perez.
Latinos get stomach cancer at higher rates than almost anyone else in this country, and most of us have never even heard why. H. pylori is a bacteria that lives in your stomach lining. Over half of the world has it. Most people have zero symptoms, but it's the strongest known risk factor for gastric cancer. It causes roughly 89% of one of the most common types of stomach cancer. One major US study found H. pylori antibodies in 64% of Mexican Americans versus 21% of non-Hispanic white Americans. That's 3 times higher. And gastric cancer rates run at least 70% higher in Hispanic populations, showing up at a younger ages as well. Now, it spreads mostly mother to child through shared food and contaminated water. So if someone in your immediate family had it, your risk goes up too. That's exactly why I asked to be tested. And here's the part that should make you angry. Despite all of this research, most doctors don't offer this test to Latino patients based on ethnicity, even though the data's been sitting there for years, which means that we're the ones that have to bring it up ourselves. So if you have a family history of H. pylori, ulcers, gastritis, or gastric cancer, or even without one, ask your doctor directly for H. pylori testing. It can be done through breath test, stool sample, or blood test. It's simple, it's not invasive, and the best part is that it's treatable. This is exactly why I break down in Decolonize Your Diet how to read your labs, your CBCs, your thyroid panels, all of it, so you walk into your next appointment already knowing what to ask for. So go pre-order my book, link is in bio, and go get checked.
That was our hermana Lorena Reynoso, author of A Modern Guide to Mexica Philosophy. For more from her, you can search her social media handle with folklore or with _folk_lore.
And now Aslan Weekly presents Where in Aslan is Scott?
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
Aslan is where in Aslan is Aslan is where in Aslan is Scott.
My name is Scott Russell Duncan, Chicano writer and editor with the widest name. And this is Where in Aslan is Scott.
This time on Where in Aslan is Scott, we have Francisco Lopez filling in and talking with Enrique Cardiel, all the way in Burque, Nuevo Mexico, Aslan.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Profe Lopez, and today we have a very special guest. We have Enrique Cardiel from Nuevo Mexico. How you doing, Enrique?
I'm doing good, brother. Thanks for calling me up and getting us going.
Sure enough, Enrique. So, you're an accordion player, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And tell us a little bit about cómo entra el acordeón a tu vida.
Oh, pues, my uncles played music, and they owned a bar, and so they're in Pomona, California. And so my grandmother was the cook, and so I was in the bar, I don't know from what age, but at least till I was 4 or 5, things that would get people in trouble now. But yeah, so I grew up as a little kid in the bar, and so listening to accordion music was just, part of every day. If it wasn't on, while I was hanging out there, it was on at home all the time. My grandparents were from South Texas, and so, accordion music was their thing. So we'd listen to Narciso Martinez, Rubén Vela, Los Relámpagos, all of those folks. And then my parents listened to Esteban Jordan. And so since I was a little kid, I wanted to play.
Excellent. So, música, it's just part of the family, right? Part of what the family does. So you play the accordion, y los corridos siguen contando la historia nuestra?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's just like any other music, right? Once it became more commercial than local, right? More kind of national and commercialized, right? We moved from a lot of corridos, about local things to, these narco corridos or different things like that. But there still are people who still write music about things going on today. I'm in a couple of bands. One is called Las Otras, and I brought an idea, and we wrote this song called Patrullero del Pueblo, which is just about going out and patrolling our communities and keeping our communities safe.
So the local artists still telling the stories of the pueblo in the local area. Yeah. Agreed. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I know other musicians in La Razonida, we talk about like writing stuff, about being Chicana and Chicano, today, right? Because there's some older, songs that say, explicitly talk about being Chicana or Chicano. And there's not that many, in the corrido style, right? Luckily there's young people that post rap, and talk about being Chicana and Chicano. So the music's there, right? It's just figuring out how to keep connected to the community and all of that.
Yeah, some very key. Stay connected to the community. And you talked a little bit about, the narco corridos tumbados.
In New Mexico, they actually have local radio with their own groups, right, in their own style. It's still rancheras, corridos, cumbias, but there's a different flavor to it, no? And it's local. It's not all national. I mean, I think that's the beautiful thing about being Chicano is we could do whatever we want. We're in this kind of middle of all these things mixing, and just adding our own sabor to it makes it Chicano music,
Indeed. We definitely adapt, huh?
Yeah.
And now recently you had a great opportunity, right? Te aventaste unas rolas con Marusol from Santa Cecilia. They were playing out there in Burque, and then you guys got to jam it up, right?
Well, yeah, actually, she came by herself. So there's a maestra here from Mexico who's teaching son jarocho to a bunch of people. And so a good number of people that I really love go to those things, go to the son jarocho workshops, and then they have fandangos. So I hung out, and Marisol came. She's deeply into son jarocho. And so she came and was just played along with like 30, 40 people. And so she was playing, and she was talking about stuff. She decided she wanted to do a song.
Oh.
And I said, okay. And so we jumped in, and it was a big honor for me. I think those opportunities are good, and I couldn't pass it up. Luckily, she picked a song I knew, since I was a kid. It's important for our young people to know these old songs, right? And it's important to keep that going. That's part of our cultura and part of the thread from our antepasados to us.
Yeah, right? Keep connecting with the roots, right? And building community. Beautiful. So for all the gente out there in Albuquerque, your group is called Sin Límite?
Yeah, one group is called Sin Límite,
Mm-hmm.
and the other group is called Las Otras, all one word.
Okay, and where can we see Sin Límite and Las Otras at?
Sin Límite is on Facebook. So it's on Facebook, and the page is facebook.com Sin Límite Burque, Burque. And there's a picture of a little short dude with an accordion. That's me.
That's you, right? And they can get notices there to when you'll be playing around in town so they can go out and support the local Albuquerque talent?
Yeah, as much as I can, I try to keep up to date with our gigs, right? Las Otras is also on Facebook. It's Las Otras NM.
Las Otras NM, Nuevo Mexico. Very good. All right, so we'll keep a lookout for those. Definitely, you heard it from Enrique. Support the local talent. Connect to the roots. Listen to the oldies. But keep innovating and adapting to new sound. Appreciate you, Enrique. We look forward to hearing more from you. And we'll look out for the Patrullando song.
And thanks to both Francisco Lopez and Enrique Cardiel for telling us where in Aztlan they were and for talking about Enrique's music and corridos in Burque. Now, for more Aztlan Weekly programming.
Aztlan, where in Aztlan is Aztlan, where in Aztlan yeah.
Now we return you to our regular scheduled program.
And now Aztlan Weekly presenta Op-Ed with our camarada Yvette.
Migra's investment in shock gloves. According to multiple sources, DHS wants to spend up to $20 million on gloves that shock people on contact. The devices, known as CTG5 GLOVE, stand for Generated Low Output Voltage Emitter, are expected to be delivered by March 2027 for HSI and ERO personnel. It has a button that sits at the wrist and activates on touch. Despite the manufacturer calling this de-escalation, the gloves are actually designed to cause pain and disrupt a person's ability to react, stopping coordinated muscle movement through direct skin contact. To no surprise, DHS has not released usage rules. The public doesn't know when or how agents will be authorized to use them. Jen Rolnick Borchetta, the ACLU's Deputy Director on Policing, warned that officers could use the gloves to deliver shocks covertly, calling it a recipe for more harm to the public and less accountability. Kika Matos, a president of National Immigration Law Center, went further, describing the plan as ICE using an $80 billion slush fund to concoct new ways to visit cruelty on our communities. There are legitimate concerns about this. For instance, in 2022, 2 officers at a South Carolina detention center were criminally charged for beating and shocking a detainee with the same device in 2 separate incidents. Historically, we know there's always money for a new device to inflict pain, police or surveilled raza and our bodies. There has never been comparable money for the clinics, the housing, the schools, the communities actually need. The state is willing not only to find money, but to invest $20 million in gloves to cause harm before it's willing to find $1 for the conditions that make our communities vulnerable to begin with. Just as a refresher, the historical continuum goes through different time eras, such as the bracero labor extraction, the 1924 immigration quotas built on eugenicist science, INS detention economics that became ICE detention economics.
That was Op-Ed con Yvette, as read by an Aztlan Weekly volunteer reporter. For more from our camarada Yvette, visit her Substack and Instagram accounts by searching Yvette Xochiyotl. That's IVETTEXOCHIYOTL.
We'll be right back after a word from our contributors.
After these messages,
Saludos, mi gente. I want to start this message by first thanking Aslan Weekly for holding space for our stories and for inviting me to share a little bit about myself and my work with all of you. Tlazokamati, muchas gracias for having me. My name is Doctora Veronica Xochitl Valadez. I'm an ethnic studies educator, scholar activist, traditional Mexica danzante, and along with my partner, Dr. Gabriel Orozco, co-founder of Eheka Wind Philosophy, which is an ethnic studies consulting agency. Our primary objective is to support K-12 school districts in establishing transformative and powerful ethnic studies classes rooted in liberation and revolutionary love. Our work is grounded in the belief that education can be a site of healing, resistance, and collective liberation if we are willing to challenge the colonial foundations that continue to shape our schools today. Like many of you, I grew up witnessing firsthand how systems fail our Black, Indigenous, and Brown communities, and how deeply our stories and our ancestral memory have the power to transform us. That's what led to my dissertation entitled Planting Seeds of Revolutionary Love, and to the development of the 8 R's anti-colonial framework, a framework rooted in Indigenous, Chicana, Chicano, Black, and Filipino knowledge systems. This anti-colonial framework asks us to resist colonialism, restore our relationships, remember who we are, and reimagine what education can be when it is grounded in revolutionary love, community, and truth. I truly believe that when we gather to learn, create, and remember together, we breathe life into our ancestors' dreams. We transform not only our classrooms and our communities, but our futures and the futures of our semillas. To reflect, to share good and positive energía, create and imagine what liberation looks like together. For more information, please follow us on Instagram at Ehecat, spelled EHECATL, Wind Philosophy. Tlazokamati, gracias, thank you community, la lucha sigue, hasta pronto.
What's up, familia? If you're looking for a space that celebrates powerful storytelling, community, and culture, the Brown Book Club is where you need to be. Since 2020, we've been building a community centered on Latina, Latino, Chicana, Chicano, and Indigenous voices, uplifting stories that reflect who we are, where we come from, and where we're going. We don't just read these books, we connect with the authors behind them. Through the Brown Book Club podcast, we've had real conversations with incredible writers, diving deeper into their stories, their process, and their lived experiences. This is more than a book club. It's community, it's culture, it's conversation. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Just search The Brown Book Club and tap in.
And now back to Aslan Weekly.
What's up and cuvo to everyone in Aslan and around the globe. I'm Johnny Guerra, aka Johnny War on Instagram. I'm the founder of the Zona Sananto Poetry Collective. We are a group of poets out of San Antonio, Texas, who host a monthly open mic, and through our podcast on Apple and Spotify, feature incredible voices from San Antonio and across the United States. All while raising funds for an organization called Transplants for Children. A big gracias to Aslan Weekly for giving me a platform for the next few minutes to share a sample of the brilliant, talented poets on our show and Poetry Collective. Stick around until the end. After you hear samples of their poetry, I'll share my contact info so you can find out how to be featured on a future episode. Now let's see the world through the Zona Cruz words. From episode 8 and 18, Alejandra Alanis, La Mera Mera.
Fluya, flow, suelta, let it go. She's presencia, presence. Rock the boat, rock the boat. No sense to make. Ego death, surrender, depth perception. Hopscotch around her dialect, non-linear. Expression of pleasure. Fluya, flow. On lockdown, véndame los ojos. Nibble, nibble, bite my lips. Acércate, come closer. Ella es quantic transformation, sensual synchronicity, contour outline of the hip.
From episodes 6 and 17, Melissa Guerra, a.k.a. Mo.
If reincarnation is real, let me be reborn in the imagination of a writer and brought to life on the pages of a book. Let my curves be drawn out in Times New Roman, the softness of my hair described in dripping detail. Let the path of my life bring tears of joy and storms of anger to the reader. Every experience will ensure my immortality, seared into the memory of those whose fingers caress the pages. If reincarnation is real, let my next breaths be heard in the melody of a song. My existence brought forth by the weeping of guitar and the slamming of the drums.
Episode 20 features Songbird. I have hope for stories untold. All those secrets kept too long, lost for survival, to preserve in memory alone. Lost are the narratives, but the meaning is kept clear. So important were they, that instinct stayed here. I have hope for stories untold, all paths it took to produce. Gone are the beginnings and the unveiling of the new. Gone are the actors and the actions they have done. So fleeting were they, that their names are never sung. On Season 2, Episode 5, we feature Casey Luna, El Coyote.
Grind some coffee, eyelids heavy. Heavy day, pays the bills. Bills piling up, dying to chill. Chill soda for caffeine later. Later always seems forever. Forever may be just for now. Now, focus up, back to work. Work until the end of the day. Day by day I chip away. A way to dream of something new. New for me, but is it true? True or not, who says who? Who would notice or even care? Care to tell a story, would you listen? Listening close, only a whisper. Whisper in your ear of a world free of sorrow. Sorrow though postponed won't spare tomorrow. Tomorrow arrives, get ready for the grind. Grind some coffee before I lose my mind.
From Season 2, Episode 9, Angelica Guerrero, That One Tejana.
She's supposed to be cariñosa, but never ever poderosa. Her voice is met with criticism, judgment that's just hidden racism. Ella nunca será callada, no ganas nada con dañarla. She es fuerte until la muerte. They partake in her culture, as selfish as a vulture, whitewashing every meaning, as if her roots are only fleeting. Con ganas gritamos, sí se puede, porque cuando el alma lucha, lo posible sucede. Eat your chips and queso, no puedes impedir el proceso, que nunca se te olvide su nombre, con amor siempre, ella es chicana, that one tejana.
Season 1, Episode 24 belongs to Candy, the Love Poet.
Somos las atravesadas, the rainmakers, truth takers, our skin, our flags, our accents, sirens, our hands disarm. We love hard. Carving out space for the D-class, D-home náufragos de la sociedad. Our God loves all. ¿Qué creías? That I would not, could not call out your hippo creed. Dust your history off my shelf. I wear mine like a crown. A Mayan queen. Soy terca. Prepárate.
You can find Alley Cat on Season 1, Episode 19, and on Season 2, Episode 8.
Winds blow through the unknown, paralyzing uncertainty of reality likes to creep. She's one of many, barely surviving. She's one of many who dare to dream. Just another woman on the South Side trying to find her way through this life.
Thank you for listening to these fantastic poets. To hear full episodes, subscribe to the Zona Sananto podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow at Zona Sananto on Instagram for more poetry and updates on our Lakeside Poetry open mic at the Lighthouse Lounge. Want to be featured on the podcast? Reach out to me, Johnny War, or Zona Sananto on Instagram, or email us at zonasananto@gmail.com. The stars have aligned, the sun and moon have risen, and the ancestors have spoken. I wish you peace in the name of poetry. I love you all. You are beautiful.
And now Aslan Weekly presenta Pa' que sepan.
You've heard that God made humans from dust or a rib, but in the Popol Vuh, the sacred book of the Quiché Maya, it says we come from corn. Hi, I'm Ish Oshib Ashpu, Christine, and today I'm telling you the creation story of my Maya ancestors. The story goes that the gods wanted to create beings who could remember, who could give thanks and speak their names in honor of life. First, they tried mud. The mud people crumbled. They couldn't hold their shape. They couldn't speak, only mumble. The gods let them dissolve back into the earth. So second, they tried wood. The wood people looked human. They walked, they talked, and multiplied, but they were hollow. There was no blood, memory, or gratitude. They forgot their creators entirely. The world turned against them. Their own cooking pots rose up, their own dogs, their own grinding stones. Everything they had used without thanks rebelled. A great flood finished it. The story says that the survivors fled to the trees and became the monkeys. The Maya looked at monkeys and saw a warning. This is what happens to beings who cannot remember, who cannot give thanks. But the gods didn't go straight to corn. There's a whole story in between where two hero twins go down into the underworld, they die, and they come back. And while they're gone, the corn they planted in their grandmother's house withers. When they rise, it greens again. That's the lesson the story had to teach first. Corn dies and returns, and it has to be buried to come back. Only then do we have the third creation that survives and can thrive. So the animals came to the gods, a fox, a coyote, a parrot, and a crow, and they revealed a secret. There was a mountain called Pakshil, the mountain of sustenance, and it split open and filled with food, white corn, yellow corn, cacao, patashte, and fruits of every kind. The gods took that corn, and it was Ishmukani, the grandmother goddess, who grounded it 9 times. From that maize dough mixed with water, the gods shaped the first true human beings made from corn. Thousands of years later, the Maya farmers still bless the cornfield. Corn is not just a crop, it's an ancestor. When we say we are the people of corn, it is genealogy and a remembering of what we come from. Your flesh remembers what it's made of, and it's made of what the earth gave us. And remember what this whole story is about. The wood people were destroyed because they couldn't remember. They couldn't give thanks. The corn people survived because they could. Gratitude is what made us human. And that's the thread of my book, Remember Your Roots. And if you want a taste of that remembering, Somalux cacao is real Mayan cacao grown by Maya hands for thousands of years, and you can find it in the link. And remember to drink it with gratitude. I'm Christine Olivia. Follow me for more history of the Maya.
That was our hermana Christine Olivia, author of the book, Remember Your Roots, How to Awaken Your Ancestral Power and Live with Gratitude. For more from her, visit her webpage, www.IamChristineOlivia.com. You can also find her on Insta by searching Christine Olivia _.
And now Aslan Weekly presenta Palabra.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in. I'm going to share a short story that I wrote called The Rise of Esperanza. But first, a little bit about who I am. My name is Victoria Vicky Bañales, and I am the 2025-2027 Watsonville Poet Laureate. I am a Chicane educator and writer, and the author of the poetry collection called The Sun Will Not Harm You by Day, Nor the Moon by Night, published in 2025 by Jammy Publishing. I have a PhD in literature and feminist studies from UC Santa Cruz, and I teach composition and creative writing at Cabrillo College, where I also serve as the Faculty Senate President. I'm the proud daughter of Mexican immigrants, and I live in Watsonville, California. In Spanish, there is a popular saying that goes, "De poetas y locos, todos tenemos un poco," which translates to, we all have a little bit of the poet and the madman in us, which I truly believe. I hope you enjoy my story, The Rise of Esperanza. The Rise of Esperanza by Victoria Bañales. Jovita dashed out of room 1098 at H. Graham's headquarters. She had a dignified cross-expression on her face. Dressed in a baby blue polyester dress with white buttons and a matching white handbag, she marched ahead, ignoring her husband's attempts to catch up to her. She took large strides, her heels stabbing the polished marble floors. Next to her, Reynaldo seemed insignificant and small, even though they were roughly the same height. It was hard to imagine that earlier that same day, they had been laughing and hugging, celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary. Dining at El Pueblito, their favorite Mexican restaurant, the couple drank strawberry margaritas while listening to mariachi techno music. Reynaldo paid a hefty price for 3 private table songs. The two shared from their plates, just as they had always done. That way, Jovita could enjoy a little pork, carnitas, her favorite, yet not entirely disobey her doctor's orders. The meat was soft, juicy, and spicy, just the way she liked it. After the meal, they strolled around Lake Merritt, her arm looped around his. The September afternoon sun was warm, and it was early in the day with plenty of time to spare before their appointment at H. Graham's, the newest fad in technological spiritual advancements. Jovita had done her research and carefully read all the information. For $9,950, H. Graham's would conjure up a long-lost relative, lover, or friend. It was a breakthrough in modern inventions. Hundreds of thousands of people from all over the world were flocking to the franchise to interact with recently or long-departed loved ones. A bevy of mediums, psychics, and technology gurus contacted the other side, inviting the departed soul to return. If the soul was successfully located and it agreed, a meeting was arranged. After a secret negotiations process, the deceased presented themselves through a hologram at a specified time and place. To proceed, clients completed an application, signed waivers and consent forms, underwent health and psychological assessments, attended mandatory tutorials and trainings, and paid the fee. H. Graham's took care of the rest. As an anniversary gift to Reynaldo, Jovita had arranged for a meeting with Doña Esther, her suegra, who had passed away 11 years ago. Mother and son had been very close, and Reynaldo had missed his mama so much. Doña Esther adored Reynaldo, but she didn't much care for Jovita, who she didn't see fit for her favorite son. She'd made her sentiments clear, complaining to Reynaldo about Jovita's shortcomings, not even bothering to censor herself in front of Jovita's presence. Fortunately for Jovita, she and Reynaldo resided in Oakland, California, miles away from Doña Esther, who had lived in Cozalá, Sinaloa, during her lifetime. "Thank you, mi amor," Reynaldo said as they entered H. Graham's headquarters for their 4 o'clock appointment. A cheerful staff member clutching a clipboard promptly greeted them in the main lobby. They wore a silvery long dress with matching platform boots. Everything about them was silvery, including their sparkly eyeshadow, metallic lipstick, and short gray hair spiked like a porcupine. "Welcome! You must be Mr. and Mrs. Zamora. I'm Sky McGregor, your assigned coordinator. Come with me," they chirped. Jovita and Reynaldo followed Sky through a lengthy, elegant corridor that led to an elevator. Within seconds, they zipped to the 28th floor of the building. As they exited, they made small talk, mostly about the floor's retro interior decor, which reminded Jovita of an old Las Vegas hotel she had once seen as a child. The archways, decorative balconies, and ceilings mimicking blue skies with puffy white clouds were impressive. She sighed, remembering Las Vegas, the city of sin as it had once been dubbed, which had crumbled in 2055 during the Second Civil War, when the militias took over the casinos, prompting the U.S. military to bomb the entire place to weed out terrorists. As Jovita, Reynaldo, and Sky approached room 1098, a pair of 5 was exiting the room next door. The middle-aged clients, 3 Asian women and 2 men, hugged each other and clasped their hands, thanking staff members who bore sympathetic smiles as they escorted the group out. We are so glad you had a wonderful time with your grandmother. Perhaps you would like to schedule another visit with her? Just so you know, we have a discount program for frequent clients. Jovita beamed with excitement as she eavesdropped on the conversation. She wanted to know more about the discount program, but she was interrupted by Sky. "This way!" Sky commanded as they punched in a code on a computer monitor outside room 1098, prompting the door to open. Inside the room, a large neon sign greeted them that said, "Welcome to your living room, where loved ones come back to life. At Hgrams, we put the living back into your room." The space was elegant and neat, with identical plush blue sofas facing each other. At the center was a mahogany coffee table with a doily and silver tray containing an array of snacks, nuts, crackers, cheeses, fruits, cookies, and candies. A coffee carafe, teapot, an assortment of tea bags, sugar, honey, and cream surrounded the plentiful tray. "Make yourselves at home," said Sky, peering at their wristwatch. "Your guest will be here in about 23 minutes. In the meantime, help yourself to coffee, tea, or anything you'd like. Compliments of Hgrams." Jovita eyed the crackers and cheese, eager for a tasty bite. The long stroll around the lake had reawakened her appetite. "Thank you," she said. "Do you have any questions before I leave?" Sky asked with a warm smile. Jovita couldn't think of any. She had read all the information and paid careful attention during the tutorials. She knew exactly what to expect. Doña Esther would appear on the opposite couch. The family would have 30 minutes to talk. No touching, no couch hopping. Sitting still was best. Staying calm was of utmost importance. In the event of an emergency, a red panic button was located on the end table near their designated couch. "No, I don't think we have any questions," Jovita said. She turned to Reynaldo, who nodded in agreement. Sky hugged their clipboard and smiled. "Great! Donna Esperanza Zamora should appear in..." They looked at their watch again. 12 minutes. "Donna who?" Jovita frowned and rolled her eyes. $9,950 and staff couldn't remember her suegra's name or pronounce her title correctly? How typical and disappointing. Jovita made a mental note to complain to management after the visit was over. "Doña Esther," she corrected, raising her voice slightly. "Doña Esther," she repeated, slower this time, making sure Sky heard her. "Oh, forgive me," Sky said, their cheeks flushed. They studied their clipboard as lines appeared on their otherwise smooth forehead. With a silvery pen, they scribbled something down. Doña Esther. They looked at their clipboard again, flipping the pages, the lines on their forehead deepening. Finally, they cleared their throat and smiled. My apologies for that. Your guest should be here soon. I'll be right outside in the desk area out front. If you need anything, just let me know. Sky's long silvery dress made swishing sounds as they exited the room, closing the door behind them with the quick punch of a button. Jovita grumbled under her breath as she fixed herself a plate of fruit, cheese, and crackers. Unbelievable, she said, piling her plate high. She popped a glazed cashew into her mouth. Reynaldo shook his head. It's a simple mistake, dear. No need to get upset. It can happen to anyone. He munched on a chocolate chip cookie. Say, this is good, he said, grabbing another. Jovita scoffed. I don't think so, amor. I mean, honestly, if your mother's name were Mrs. Mary Smith or Mrs. Sally White, they wouldn't have made the same mistake, and you know it, she said, pouring herself a cup of tea. She looked at her watch. Oh, Doña Esther will be here any minute. She took a sip from her steamy cup. Now remember, don't mention your mother's tragic death or the afterlife. Don't mention Saul's space porn addiction or Belita's 3 divorces. And above all, don't talk about Juan's boyfriend. Remember to keep it light. Focus on the successes of our children. How Nelly got into Harvard and Maria had a baby. Oh, and don't forget to ask about the diamond necklace and whether she really gave it to Carmela. We need to know. I'll bet that good-for-nothing sister-in-law of yours stole it. I've always had a bad feeling about that vieja. Ya, mujer. Calm down, Reynaldo said, stuffing his face with cheese and crackers. He reached for the coffee carafe. We've gone over this 100 times. I know what to do and say. Just then, a soft bell rang. Jovita and Reynaldo straightened up and put their plates down. Within minutes, a soft hologram came into view, first as an arm, then a leg, then a head, and an entire face. Finally, a dark-skinned woman with long braids wearing a colorful dress appeared on the couch. She sat directly in front of them, her arms folded above her wide stomach. She tapped a sandaled foot and grinned. She was missing a few teeth. Jovita peered at the hologram, feeling confused. The braided woman looked nothing like her suegra. Granted, Jovita had only seen her mother-in-law a few times in person, but still, she could tell the difference. Doña Esther was skinny and pale, unlike the woman sitting in front of them, who was dark and stout, and younger too. Jovita was about to say something, but she was interrupted by the woman who began to shout. Desgraciado, pendejo, you ungrateful man, she bellowed, shaking a fist. After all I did for you, and here you left me for 23 years and not a single word from you. And the poor kids, oh, the poor kids. ¿Cómo pudiste? How could you, poco hombre sin vergüenza, you ingrate? I've waited 7 years for this, unable to rest in peace. Horrified, Jovita looked at Reynaldo, whose mouth was agape, eyes as wide as the cookies on his plate. Reynaldo, Jovita pleaded, hoping he'd do or say something, but he remained speechless. The woman continued, her voice raspy. You poor excuse of a man, leaving your wife and children to starve in Mexico while you lived the good life, eh? Pretending to be a bachelor, eh? But don't think you'll get away with this. Ahora verás, cabrón. I will haunt you until the day you die. This isn't over. Oh, no. This is just the beginning. She waved her arms and hands as she yelled. Jovita had had enough. She stood up and stamped her right foot, her chest heaving. Basta ya, señora. I don't know who you are or what you want, but this man you see before you is my husband, Reynaldo Zamora. Obviously, there's been a mix-up of sorts, a glitch in the system. You're mistaking him for someone else. The woman went silent, her hologram image flickering. She narrowed her eyes and gave Jovita a long stare, her dark eyes traveling across Jovita's body. She clicked her tongue. ¿Este tamal mal amarrado es tu vieja? This fatso's your wife? I thought you would have at least left me for something better, she said, giving Reynaldo a wicked glare. All these years I imagined you with a skinny blonde gabacha. But here I see before me a whale of a woman. She chuckled, slowly at first, followed by an uncontrollable belly laugh, replete with snorts, tears, and guffaws. Jovita fumed. Pero ¿cómo se atreve? How dare you? Stamping her foot again, she looked at Reynaldo. Who is this vile woman? She demanded to know, holding back tears. As if snapping out of a trance, Reynaldo, who hadn't said a word, reacted fast. He slammed the red panic button, pressing it violently and repeatedly, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Immediately, the woman began to fade, her laughs giving way to angry shouts. Cobarde! This isn't over! You have no right! You cowardly son of a... The voice became muffled as the image lost its focus and disappeared. Within seconds, staff members rushed into room 1098 to assess the emergency. In the hour that followed, they reviewed the couple's application, replayed video footage, inspected the machinery, and combed the room for any clues. They asked Jovita and Reynaldo a litany of questions. Was the couple sure the woman wasn't Doña Esther? After all, it had been a while since the old woman had passed away, and the deceased didn't always appear as people remembered them. Did Doña Esther perhaps confuse Reynaldo for her late husband? Could the woman be someone from their past, a deceased relative or friend, an old lover? Did the name Esperanza ring a bell? Esperanza. Jovita's eyes grew wide. Her mind raced as hazy memories from a past returned, coming sharply into focus. She remembered Reynaldo's business trips during the early years of their marriage, the mysterious phone calls and cash withdrawals, the souvenir that Jovita had once found tucked away in an old suitcase. She remembered it well. The souvenir, shaped like a miniature pyramid. It had lit up when Jovita touched it, prompting a hologram of a young woman and 3 children to appear before her. Bright letters in ugly, slanted handwriting had flickered around the image. And it said, "He who is joined with all the living has hope, for the living know that they will die. But the dead know nothing, and they have no more reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. Enjoy life with the wife whom you love, all the days of your vain life." Jovita remembered the biblical verses, memorizing them even. Ecclesiastes 9:4-9, carved at the bottom of the pyramid, next to an inscription that said, Mi vida, esperanza. Of course he had offered excuses, and she had believed him. Why had I believed him? She wondered. Why had I been so quick to believe in ghosts, but deny the living, even when I was staring at her in the face, sitting right in front of her? She winced at the bright neon sign, now flickering. Welcome to your living room, where loved ones come back to life. At H-Grams, we put the living back into your room. Jovita stood up. She glared at Reynaldo and snatched her white handbag. She wanted to smack him with her purse, pummel him with her fists, trample him with her pointy heels. But that wouldn't be necessary, she figured. She'd let Esperanza take care of that. I expect a full refund, she said to a cluster of wide-eyed staff members as she headed toward the door. My lawyer will be in contact with you. She gave Reynaldo a hard stare before exiting the room. Reynaldo gasped and shot up. In his haste, he spilled his coffee, its black liquid staining the powdery blue carpet. My dear, my dear, he called out, running after Jovita, begging for her to wait. Espera! Somewhere in the distance, a woman's laughter echoed down the hallway. Past the front desk and elevator, past the fancy archways and balconies, past the high ceilings. Its reverberations rising above the fake blue skies. Well, that concludes The Rise of Esperanza. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the story, which will be published in a forthcoming anthology called Chicanx Futurism, Gritos for Tomorrow, Codex 2, edited by Scott Russell Duncan, which will be published later this year. To learn more about my writing and public appearances, you can visit my website, VickyBanales.com. VickyBanales.com. Hasta pronto.